Hello, everyone. I'm Kipp Snow. I'm the director of the Transportation Distribution and Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County.
Hey, Kipp, Mike Singer, community manager, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Ship Watchers. We are a local maritime advocacy. See, there it goes again. I can't talk when the
You
camera.
did pretty good last week.
I did. And I can say the word any other time except when it's time for this podcast. And just all right. So we try to do whatever we can to help promote all things to do with the Port of Baltimore. So now we have this podcast. So just a regular way of getting information out to folks on a regular basis. So, yeah. So we're with episode 13. Is that right?
No, 12, isn't it?
12? Oh, yeah.
12.
Now I'm skipping ahead.
That's okay. Well,
I got so excited that we could actually count, and then I just screwed it up.
You got some shipping updates for us this week?
Yeah, a little bit. So like yesterday we had 4 ships. Well, not really 4 ships, but 4 items at 4 vessels at the container terminal at Seagirt yesterday. So one of the bigger Evergreen ships, so one of the Ever Forward sisters, and then a big Zim LNG container ship, and then a smaller container ship, and then one of the barge that runs Baltimore, Philly, Norfolk.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Barge. So they were actually had 4 different vessels in yesterday.
Impressive.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So big ships, and then before that, Zim was another LNG big container ship from Zim, like the day before. So things are picking up. So I want to be positive, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I feel it's important that and there is excitement about the port getting back to normal, and that's wonderful, and that's part of what I'm trying to show is that hey, things are getting back to normal, and there's a lot of things that are really close to normal, right? But the incoming containers are they're not there. So for example, the Zim ship that was in port, there were 300 container moves. So basically like 1/5 the normal amount that ship would bring in.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So, the normal numbers, because there are a couple of different Facebook pages for the actual truckers that work Seagirt. And they have a few Facebook pages, and then I don't know if this material, if this data is accessible to anybody or not, but they post it, and I've been following their posts of the truck transactions for probably a couple of years. And so typically it runs about 3,000 truck transactions or more. So 3,000, 34, 35 on a good day. And then you'll see here, this was a really nice week. So this was last April. And so we're talking about almost 4,000 truck transactions for 3 days in a row. Now this is exceptional. And here they are again. Here's another view of, well, this was February of last year. And so I've been meeting some folks online, people trying to, substantiate these claims where I'm saying, hey, things aren't back to normal. And so here's a graphic from last week. Let me see if I can make this. Let's get this bigger here. All right, that's pretty good. So now we're looking at, 14, 16, 17, 15, 14 for that first, maybe the first or the second full week of July of this year. And so we're talking about less than half the amount of truck transactions that we're used to. So there's container moves, there's truck transactions, there's a couple different ways to track the data of how much man, now I can't say container. Give me a break. Container work there is, coming and going from the port, and this is one of the ways, and I'm sure everyone is working really hard to get the business back. And ironically, it's crazy sometimes, as you know, we have a deficit. We're typically importing way more than we're exporting. And I think right now it might be the opposite, because
in these numbers, do they break it down based on imports and exports, or is it just total moves in and out and around?
I really don't have a breakdown, or to be honest with you, a firm understanding of what it encapsulates. I just know that there's this Seegert daily truck transaction metric, and they put it out every day and every week. And I know it's been at least 3,000.
Sure. I think that, in just looking at this with the basic information and the basic metric definitions, I'm wondering if this is in and out of the gate, and if I think about, what types of, you've got different products that are coming in and out. You've got you've got some empties that will go through the gate for a number of reasons. It could be, it's quite possible that some of this is not a one-to-one, transaction, meaning the day that it's pulled off of the ship, it's not going directly onto a truck and out the gate. It may be going out into their yard for for delivery, a week from now or something. I'd be curious to see what containers are being put on rail at this point. And
that'd be interesting.
If this is just truck, and I know that they don't have all of the rail volume in place yet, but I wonder what if that would help with clarifying what this number fully means. But clearly
there's a higher percentage going out via rail than there was before,
and I can't,
kind of messes the numbers up. Is that kind of what you might be saying?
Maybe, I think that there's, it does paint a picture. It does, and how you analyze the data of, during a similar time period, we were at this number, and during this time period, we're at a much lower number. Absolutely.
That's what I was just trying to.
Yeah, sure. But I think that there are some other things or other metrics that we can look at. However, I think it's a good indicator. It's a good, good high level indicator to say that it's not 100%. However, if you look at major events that have happened over time, so if we look at like 9/11 and the global commerce shuts down for just a couple of days. If you look at movements during the pandemic, there was extended periods of time where there was numbers that are down. It is going to take some time to come back from this, just like it took us time to come back from those periods and rebuild that freight. I think that I'm seeing positive trends. I'm seeing, I continue to hear, okay, we're getting better. The numbers go up a little bit more each week. It's a little bit more, but you're correct. It's still not quite there. that it was the week before the bridge came down.
Right. And I mean, it is good to be, excited and, to see here. And we'll go over this again. Let's see if I can. All right, here we go. So here we are again, Baltimore shipwatchers.com. This is our website full of all kinds of information. You've got your podcast link, the live streams of the camera, the merch page, shipping links. There's all kind of port maps so you can see just about a listing of every company and terminal, and there's really a lot of great information on here. So let's go back into the shipping links. Third one down, container ship schedule. So it is good to see this and see how this is. Look at this. There's a lot going on there. And it's really good to see when, you're looking at any of these days with all these colors. 3 ships, 3 ships, 3 ships, 3 ships, 2, 2, 2, 3. There's a lot going on here. And look at this. 4 days at the end of the month where there's 3 ships in here for 4 days in a row. And that's great. But I am hearing it from the people that work at the port, that, they're not getting, people aren't working as much as they were before because there's, and the ships are coming back and that's great, but they just don't have as much on them as they did before. And so we're talking about less throughput.
Yeah.
So less work. So, me, I try to keep everything positive about the port. And so I'm just advocating for the workers here. And
sure. Yeah, no, I think that as companies kind of reevaluate what, the decisions that they made right there at the bridge collapse, time frame.
Right.
You're gonna see, I think, a lot of those business decisions reversed and moved back because there was a reason why they had this lane to begin with.
Right.
Some of those contractual agreements may have penalties if if they put something in place for 6 months or a year in order to keep doing business. There may be an impact there where they can't cancel a contract until that particular time frame, that temporary time frame is up. Which allows that freight to come back. So there's some of those things have to be worked out.
Right.
And the difficulty is that business decision has this ripple effect all through the rest of the supply chain. So this is a good example of, coming out of the COVID pandemic, and people are saying, there's supply chain issues. But what does that really mean? In this case, a company may have made a business decision in order to stay in business and reroute their freight, but it impacts the port that they took the business from, and so those are livelihoods that are there. So it definitely is meaningful.
And I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if you have a business, you have to do what you have to do to survive, to keep your business doing well. So I mean, we understand that. But so let me hit on this again. So up here, and you can barely see it, this little arrow, and then you get to go to the next month, and again, there's a lot going on here now. Now this will all fill in, and that's how they update the calendar. So if we went to September, there'd probably be like almost nothing, right?
Yeah.
See, it's not yet. It's just way too early for that. But as we get closer, it really starts to fill in, and so we're talking. Look at some of this. I mean, this looks great. And then whenever you see this bright green, that's typically a pretty big ship. So this is, I know right off the top of my head because I've been watching this stuff way too long. This is 14,000 TEU, so 7,000 containers. So this is a big ship. And then when we come back to July, we just had a big ship in earlier this week, right? Yesterday. But look at this. 77 imports.
Oh, it's got the import listings on
not 1,500.
Yeah.
Not 500. not 800, 77.
It's interesting they put those numbers on there.
They do, and
cool.
all of them don't have it, but and so when you add some of these up, so the 157 on Sunday and 500 on Wednesday, another 284, another 400, another 376, another 396.
It'd be cool is
all
to go.
Sounds like good numbers, but when you're used to hundreds more on each shift, it's a bit different.
If I had more time, I would go and match the numbers off of that chart to your other chart that you had with the truck moves and see what correlation exists between what's being imported and what's being transiented. Is that the word? Can I say that? Transacted? Moved?
Transact. Yeah. and then I hear from some of my industry sources that there's imports, exports, empties, and then restos, which is something that I found interesting because I guess I assumed, and then maybe some of these ships are coming in that like they weren't scheduled, or they're adding Baltimore in finally coming back, but it wasn't scheduled, so things weren't stowed in such a way that they avoid the restos when they come here. So they might have to move 300 containers to get to the ones that they need to get to.
Right.
And so that also counts, but it's not, I don't think it's in the truck transactions.
They must have some,
not in the imports in the schedule.
They must have some separate metrics for container moves versus truck moves.
Right. Yeah. So, big announcement. So next week
you're going to give me some free swag. That's not the big announcement.
No.
I actually got a laugh from the peanut gallery over here on that one.
Did you really? Yeah, so that was a good one. You got me. I don't know. I think it's Kipp, Mike 2, Kipp 1.
Oh, okay. Keep score on that one. Okay, good. Bring a little chalkboard behind me, and I'll keep tabs.
Yeah.
Your big announcement.
Okay, so the big announcement next week, we have a special guest on the podcast.
This is a special guest.
And so for the Port of Baltimore and the Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay ship watchers, it really doesn't get any bigger than the executive director of the Port of Baltimore, Jonathan Daniels, is supposed to join us next week.
Nice.
So, I mean, it really doesn't get any bigger than that locally. So
no, not at all. That'll be really cool to have some conversation with them. And
so great story. This guy comes up from Florida. He was had the same job at
Port Everglades,
Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades, as it's called. Most people know it as Fort Lauderdale, but the port is called Port Everglades. And he comes up here, and he was here for what, a month or two?
I was about to say it's a couple of weeks, and
then the bridge accident happens. And, moves his whole family up here, and then that happens. But Jonathan is he knows so much, and right off the top of his head, and he is super excited about getting this thing back to where it was, and even future growth of the port. So it would be really cool to have him.
Yeah. I know the couple of interactions I've had with them, so some of the conversations have been very inspiring.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the state of the port address that he gave when he first joined at the Baltimore Port Alliance meeting, it was a lot. It was a lot of good information he provided, but it was I felt the charisma, that we.
Absolutely. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm ready to listen to this guy talk about, the paint drying on the wall or something. He's 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 definitely excited about building the port.
Good.
So
Well,
that
I know I'll be excited for the interview. So I hope everybody else will be
I
interested
mean,
in listen in.
Yeah, if you weren't a regular listening to these two bozos, I mean, tune in.
Listen in to somebody who really matters.
Yeah, somebody really knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Just
Yep. No, that'll be a good one. Especially I was grateful to have Josh and Alex and
those guys were great.
but so this will be good.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, the Brown went down to John Brown went down to Norfolk to is it Kiwanis shipyard?
Yeah,
And
Columbus Shipyard.
I think it's a floating dry dock. It's
Yes.
right. And should have had some of those photos ready, but
There's been quite a bit. I think our friends in the Hampton Roads Ship Watchers group have been posting some pictures of the Brown.
have they?
Yeah, but that's been neat to watch some of that to see kind of see our ship somewhere else that people are enjoying.
Right, that's true. That's a really good point.
So that's cool to see those kinds of pictures. But
and speaking of that group, who is spun off of of Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Ship Watchers, and the guy who started that group sent me some Dali update pics. So we'll get to that in a little bit.
Okay.
So that'd be cool.
There's a couple of articles that were written on the John Brown going to dry dock and some of the efforts that they had to go through in order to make this work. This wasn't just a kind of a routine, one of their cruises out and back. Like this is a heavy lift project. The Chesapeake Bay magazine had an article that gave a really good, what I felt like was a pretty good summary of their efforts to and what all was involved with trying to raise money and get some of the work done. I knew this, but just to see it like written down, the ship's 81 years old.
Right.
I have to be mindful. I still feel like I'm like 18 and I'm clearly not, but you don't think that the ship is 81 years old and it's still functioning.
Right. I mean, every once in a while, I do think about, okay, it's World War II.
Right.
It was in the 40s. We're now again in the 20s. Quick math. I know it's 80 years old off the top of my head. And I think I've said that, before, but yeah. I mean, when you really get down and think about it, like, what?
Is it really that old? And it's still, that's incredible that they're able to keep that thing afloat and running with all volunteer crew, and then go and get this, go through this major repair that they've got to go through and still raise the money that they, needed in order to make it work.
Right. I'm just routinely, a quick aside, I'm routinely amazed at how many shipping assets that we have here in Baltimore. We'll run the Constellation and the Lightship and the Torsk and the Coast Guard ship that was at Honolulu during the bombing of Pearl Harbor, right? And and the Brown and the Savannah, which is a little bit different. But it just amazes me that we have all these ships here, and that what's really behind that amazement is the fact that we have people donating enough money to keep these things open and running and floating. Well, most of them don't run, but you know what I mean.
Sure, but still accessible to the public, that or at least be able to see it. Sure.
Yeah.
I found it was in the article. I found it was interesting that they this is one of the few ships that are left that were built using a riveted hull system. So where the seams match, they use rivets instead of it being welded like what you see today.
Right.
and with the ship being subjected to water and all of those elements, rust is a constant battle.
Sure.
But the concern is if one of those rivets needs to ever be replaced, they have to bring a crew out of the Great Lakes in order to come in there and do the work. And that's major work to the ship. So that's it's important for them to go and do these repairs that they need and constant upkeep so that a situation like that doesn't happen.
Right.
And then I also saw at the bottom of that article that they are considering having a haunted Halloween attraction on the ship. They're going to look at getting a haunted attraction company to come in and decorate the ship and create a ghost ship for the public to come and tour during the Halloween season.
Now that, I'll be honest with you, right off the top of my head, just gut reaction, that is surprising, and that sounds a little goofy, right? Now that it's hit me for about 15, 20 seconds, I'm like, that is brilliant. Because people are I think that's going to be an attraction that's going to bring a lot of people to the ship.
You're going to bring a lot of people to the ship who don't have a maritime connection, that they're just coming for the Halloween stuff.
I mean, you want to talk about spooky?
You don't have to dress the thing up to begin with. I mean,
right.
Not that hard.
So this is where I'm going. And you just drive there at night down those industrial roads.
Yeah.
I mean, you could sell that to your kids. Hey, we're going to this spooky place. It's even spooky on the way there.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't take a whole lot.
No.
They might even be a little scared by the time you get there. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, what is this gimmick? Oh no, you're going to attract a lot of people, and if they're trying to get awareness, I think that's a very creative way to address it.
And then and so a way to raise money, and which I'll read this other part, this other section.
Sure.
So talking about what all they're doing, all the different things that they need to do. And so they're talking about this time around, the trip and repairs will cost $1.25 million.
Wow.
It's just a staggering amount of money to me that they're able to raise that every 5 years or something. Just and so then I love this breakdown. This was warhistoryonline.com.
Okay. All right.
An article from there. And so $300,000 to paint the hull, $135,000 to block hull launch, $82,000 to replace deteriorating plating on the bottom of the number 3 hold, restore coating on interior surfaces of bottom tanks, $42,000, $24,000 to replace a 14-inch gate valve.
Yeah.
What does that look and feel like? A
14-inch
gate valve?
Well, you gotta remember this is a steamship.
Yeah.
So you gotta have the that stationary engineering operations and because for that type of mechanical operations.
Right. Clean and preserve potable water tanks, $22,000, $21,000 to restore bleeder plugs, $18,000 to range the anchor. Now, what does that mean? Range the anchor, and if you would have gave me a test, I don't know that. I mean, if it was multiple choice, maybe I could have guessed it, but I hadn't heard this term before this week. I don't think. So they let the anchor out. They slowly. Man, I'm not with it. There was even a video of them, and the guy is. It's slowly. Clankety, 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 one link at a time, lower down to the deck, and then pull basically all the chain out and paint it So range the anchor and its chain on the dry dock floor for cleaning and preservation. So I mean, just a myriad of tasks. And when I saw this, excuse me, when I saw this breakdown, this is great information because okay, yeah, they're going down, and it's going to take a while. They'll be down there for a month, and they're going to clean things up and look and inspect, and but you typically don't get a breakdown like this. So this was some pretty good information. I was kind of excited to see that.
It is quite possible that once they inspect everything, that they still may find some other issues that they need to address, and they will have to go ahead and fix that. They're not going to go and just do these repairs and then say, "Oh, we're not going to worry about the other stuff." That it's if they find something, they're going to have to go ahead and take care of that. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that's good updates on the John Brown. Anything on the bridge lately? I know that's.
Yeah, really don't have a whole lot, but one of the reporters for the Sun, and I'm really impressed by this guy because he seems to be constantly doing articles about the Key Bridge. And it just, a lot of us are connected with the bridge, and a lot of people are curious about what's going on, and people are always wanting to know more and more information. So I think it's great that they're constantly doing articles for the bridge. But one thing that was kind of creative is he did Hayes Gardner is the name of the reporter. So shout out Hayes. So he did a question and answer session on Reddit. So he created. I'm not a Reddit guy. I don't.
Oh, is it one of those ask me anything type?
Yeah, but it had a name. It had a term, and I don't know. I'm a boomer. What the heck do I know? Okay. And so anyway, he did a question and answer. He set up a thing where hey, I'm going to be on Reddit, and I forget, was it Tuesday? Maybe it was Tuesday. Okay. Tuesday at 11, and so everybody commented with questions, and he did his best to answer the questions. So I thought it was a good thing, just That's another cool. Way of engaging people on yet another social media platform, because not everybody's on all of them or the same one. So yeah, I just thought that was cool.
That's cool. You have some Dali pics? Any updates with the Dali?
I do have. So, and that's another thing that people are really passionate about. Now, when it was up here, I get it. It's right out there. It was, it had the bridge on top of it, and then when are you going to move it? And then it goes to Seagirt, and then people were fascinated with removal and the work and how long it's going to take, and are you going to remove the containers, and when is this thing going to get out of here? I mean, it never ends. But now it's kind of out of sight because it's down in Norfolk. Well, the guy who runs our sister group, Hampton Roads and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers, sent me some pics, sent me some updated photos. And so let's take a look at some of them. Yeah. So this is, you're looking from in the berth, like out to sea. Not really out to sea, but out into the river. And then is that
the comfort park next to it?
Very good, sir. Very good. You stole my line. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I pulled it up and I was like, "What is that?"
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's our old buddy, the Comfort. Now, I don't know. For a T-shirt, I can't because I don't know what the answer is. How long has it been down there? I don't know. Did we have any idea that that big of a chunk of the bridge was still on the Dali? I don't think I perceived that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's roll through some pictures here. Anybody want a slightly used Mercedes?
Oh, wow.
Really cheap.
Hmm.
Sell it to you. Just pardon me, Toyota.
Ah, yeah. See it now.
Yeah, I was just guessing. So here's another chunk of bridge here. You can see that.
I wonder what
So
the
this is the floating security gate that is around that
yeah.
whole entire section, that whole military section, and this is way down the end. And the Dali just happens to be in a berth that's way down the end, and they're behind this floating security gate.
That floating security gate is funny to me. I did some work down there in Norfolk with with an educational partner, and they had some educational tours, and when they would take us down past the Navy base down there, and I noticed that they also had this floating gate, and always wondered, like, it's not much it's more of a kind of a barrier than it is really
Right. Well, I guess I don't know if this is a good analogy, but maybe it's like the fence in your yard.
hey,
It's a
stay away,
deterrent.
this is the barrier. Yeah,
It's a deterrent. Pretty
correct.
much like your front door is. If somebody wants to get in your house,
They could, sure.
they'll get in your house. So, but this is a bit more than a boom.
True.
So it definitely keeps small craft out. I would think so.
Right.
Um, let me see. And that, I think, is what's left of a container.
Wow.
Let's see if we can. You really can't. It's so mangled, you really can't tell what it is. So here's a nice shot
Wow.
from kind of the back, and you can just kind of
Quite a number of containers have been moved along.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let me see. Ooh. And then look at this. So that's interesting. Let me see if we can make this bigger. So this is that's one of the
Is that one of the
legs,
concrete? Yeah.
right? And then it's got metal on the side of it. And then here is another slice.
I see where they've cut it.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Amazing the work that they're, and not to mention these mangled containers here.
And from that perspective, that's a steel container. That's not something that you're just going to walk up to and start banging on, and it's going to
Yeah, you
dent.
and me could beat the heck out of that thing with a hammer for days, and I don't
nothing
know,
will
would we
happen.
even dent it? Right?
No, and it's all mangled as if it was a kid's toy.
Right. So here's a shot from outside looking in. So I guess the comfort would be over here on the left in this picture.
Yep.
Woo.
It's probably about the only way you can really pick some of that stuff up with a claw like that.
Makes sense.
It's not like you're trying to save anything at this point. It's already destroyed,
Yeah, you just got to get that junk
Get it
off
out.
there at some point. Get rid of it all. So here's kind of another angle. Yeah, look at. And we've seen some of these close-ups before, but hit the wrong thing. Trying to get wanted to zoom in a bit. So look at this up here. The anchor chain, right?
Yep.
So, oh yeah, she's still got her chains.
Yep.
And I think the anchor is right here under this drape. But you're not using it.
Nope.
Which is why we talked about when they moved it down there, it had to be one continuous motion because she had no anchors to use whatsoever.
Yep.
So they couldn't stop. It just had to keep going. So
there's a couple of offshore wind related announcements this week in our region.
Yeah, you want to start that one off for me?
Yeah, so here in Baltimore, there was an announcement that the Hellenic Cables Company is coming to Baltimore, and so they're going to be doing cable manufacturing for the offshore wind industry. And so when these wind turbines are erected off the coast and they start generating electricity, that electricity has to be sent back to the mainland, and it's going to be using different kinds of cables, and then they'll come into a transmission station. The one for Maryland is going to be ironically up in Delaware, because of the way that the coastline and the state lines work. So they're building a port, not in the sense of what we see with the Port of Baltimore, but it's an electric terminal, and these cables are going to run from the wind turbines back onto land, and then go into the electrical grid. So
aren't they going to like come up on the beach somewhere?
There is a graphic that shows. Maybe I'll get some information together for one of the future podcasts. But it explains it's a pretty neat graphic that it shows what that terminal is going to look like. But most of the cabling is just laid on the ground underwater, and up to a point there is some as it gets closer to land where they have to dig out some of the land and bury some of the cables.
Yeah, I guess they would. I don't know. At least 10 feet down or something. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I'm not sure what the specifics are on that, but there's some neat graphics that the that Oceanic has put out that explains a lot of that. Also, down in Norfolk, there was an announcement this week of LS Cable, which is a Korean cable manufacturer, is coming in, and they're going to be supporting the offshore wind industry also. And so if you start to think about this, it's okay, wait a second, we've got two cable manufacturers. They're kind of in the same region. Isn't this going to be competition? Well, each one's going to have a different requirement or different cable market for the different projects that they are. Each one of these wind farms may have different components, and so you may need some different cables. There's different cable requirements for the different connections. But also with us being on the East Coast and we're trying to build up the U.S. supply chain, kind of separate from the European supply chain for this industry, we really do need these outfits to be able to support all of the components of the full industry. But but Baltimore and the Chesapeake Bay region is really poised to be a supply chain hub for products and services related to the offshore wind industry, especially on the East Coast. So this is important. They're going to bringing more jobs to the region as a whole. It's helping to solidify that new emerging manufacturing sector of the market, of our economy. So this is
we talk about So Wagner Point. All right, here we are. Here's Baltimore. And then let's, so kind of the Fairfield area. So this western part of the port over here.
Correct.
All right. So we're going to kind of keep zooming in.
Keep zooming in. So that's the kind of the peninsula where the 895 tunnel goes into the city. It's right there on that southern point. Exactly. Right.
All this green area here. And so they have bought this land, and they've been trying to buy it for a while. And so that's where the plant goes now. I think I don't think I can change. So let me just try to. Maybe there was a way. Was there a way to just change? Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, so here's a
rendition
graphic.
of.
Yeah, a rendition. Thank you. That's exactly the word I was looking for. So here on that point, here's the rail yard. And then they're basically using up this entire chunk of land.
And you also see that there's a maritime component to the company. So they're going to have a terminal built there to be able to support the rollout of all those cables that are manufactured.
I would think so. I mean, they show a couple of small vessels here. Now there's some piers here, but they're decrepit.
Right.
So they would need to rebuild those. But
correct. But yet, this is another terminal coming online, another
another factory, another couple hundred jobs,
another multimodal operation with rail, maritime, trucking.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's good to see, the port get more work. People have more opportunities for jobs. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do we have anything else? Are we done?
I think that's all I got for today.
Gosh, we might be done.
Yeah. Well,
man, we haven't had there went it just clicked over to 50 minutes.
50 minutes.
I was going to say we haven't had a 40-minute podcast and I just blew it.
That's all right.
Just shut up. And but I would have just stopped talking. Then we could have.
Well, I'm sure
made it under the wire, Kipp.
I'm sure that the next our next podcast episode is going to be a little bit lengthier with the with our guests. So.
Yeah. So just reminders in closing. So we have the Facebook group, Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Ship Watchers. We got about 16,000 people who are very interested about everything that goes on with the port. So, what's coming and going via ship and some great photographs, all kind of information about the port. So also the website, BaltimoreShipWatchers.com. We went over that a little bit ago. And then we are on Twix. Shout out Amy Lawrence. So I told her.
I was about to say, did she ever mention that?
I was using her moniker, and so she gave me a like. So.
Oh, there you go. Nice, excellent.
I guess that's approval.
And for those who are in the audio side of things, you've got the Spotify and the Apple Podcasts.
So Twix, Insta, and YouTube, where you'll find this podcast also, is Balto Ches is the name of our account. So don't forget to pound the like button when you listen to the podcast.
Correct.
I think that's all I got for today.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, everybody. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Happy ship watching.
Oh, I thought you were going to count. Happy ship watching, everybody.
We mess it up every week, so it doesn't matter if we can. One of these days,
we'll get it.
Podcast 21, we'll have it down. I don't know.
I'm going to mark that down. We'll have it straight by 21.
Okay, so we're gonna create a plan. to get there by 21. You're going to have it all listed out.
Yep.
All right. Sounds good.
All righty.
Happy chip watching, everybody. See you next week for Jonathan Daniels, Executive Director of Port of Baltimore. Be here. Check it out. It'd be great.
Sounds good.
All right.